Welcome back. Today we're going to be starting Unit 2. We're going to be starting Unit 2 by talking about numerical exponents as well as absolute value. If you don't have your calculator, go ahead and grab that. And let's go ahead and get started right now. Today we're going to be talking about exponents and absolute value, so let's go ahead and get right to it. So some key information that we need to know about exponents. Exponents are a shortcut for repeated multiplication, so rather than having to write out 2 times 2 times 2, we just say 2 to the third power. When we're talking about an exponent has two parts to it. It has the power, which it's being raised to, and what's being raised to it, the base. So those are the two parts of our exponent. A couple of tricky rules to remember. Any number to the 0 power is 1, and any number to the first power is itself. Now let's take a look at some exponents practice. So here we have our examples of exponents. It says rewrite these expressions with exponents. So the first one I've got k times k times k times k times k. So you can see I have repeated multiplication going on. So I'm going to simplify that using exponents. And since I have 5 k's, that's going to be k to the 5th power. The next time I've got negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3 times negative 3. So again, I've got repeated multiplication. And since I've got 4 negative 3's, that's going to be negative 3 to the 4th power. Now, it's very important there that I put my parentheses around the negative 3 because I'm multiplying negative 3 4 times, not 3 to the 4th power and then just slapping a negative on the end. I'm doing negative 3 to the 4th power. So it's very important that my parentheses are around both the negative and the 3. The next one, I've got 7 times a times b times b times b. So there's only one 7, so that's not going to have any power there. A, there's 2 of those, so that's going to be a to the 2nd power, or a squared. And b, there are 3 of them, so that's going to be b to the 3rd power, or b cubed. So 7 times a squared for the 2 a's, times b to the 3rd power for the 3 b's. And I'm going to put those all together because they're going to be multiplied. I'm not going to put any addition symbols or subtraction symbols between them. They are going to just be multiplied straight together. So 7 times a squared times b to the 3rd. The last example there, I've got x plus 1 times x plus 1 times x plus 1. So again, I'm going to be putting those all together inside the parentheses, x plus 1 to the 3rd power. And again, it's very important that the parentheses go around the x and the plus 1, and all of those things are being raised to the 3rd power. Not just the x by itself, not just the 1 by itself, but both together are being raised to the 3rd power. Okay, let's try some practice problems now on your own. Here we have some practice problems. It says simplify each of these expressions. So I want you to go ahead and try these on your own. Pause the video now, do the problems to the best that you can, make sure that you try and get all of them right, and then press play again to see how you did. Okay, how did you do? Were you able to get them all correct? Notice that I showed both my work and the simplified expression there. Hopefully that you showed some work too. If not, you can copy down my work now. Hopefully you didn't get tricked by the 14 to the 1st power. Anything to the 1st power is itself. And 18 to the 0 power, anything to the 0 power is 1. Now let's move on and talk about absolute value. So now we have some key facts to remember about absolute value. Absolute value measures a number's distance from 0 on the number line. Distance can never be negative, and opposites have the same absolute value. So remember, distance can never be negative. You can never go negative 4 miles somewhere. When you go to school 5 miles and then you go home 5 miles, it's still going home 5 miles. It's not going home negative 5 miles. And opposites have the same absolute value because of the same distance from 0. So positive 3 is 3 spaces away from 0. Negative 3 is 3 spaces away from 0. So they have the same absolute value. They're both 3 spaces away from 0. Let's try some examples and practice problems. So here I've got a couple of examples and then some expressions that you're going to try down there at the bottom. So the first thing I've got is negative 7 inside those absolute value bars. So the absolute value of negative 7 is 7 because that's how far it is away from 0 on the number line. I also have the absolute value of 12. And again, 12 is 12 spots away from 0. So I'm going to have 12 as the absolute value of 12. It's not the opposite, so absolute value does not mean opposite. So the opposite of 12 is negative 12, but I'm not asking for the opposite, I'm asking for the absolute value. And the absolute value of 12 is 12. Now there are a couple practice problems down there for you to try on your own. These are a little trickier than the ones that I just did, but I want to see if you can do them on your own. So go ahead and pause the video now, then press play again to see if you are right. How did you do? Were you able to get all of the same answers that I got? I know they were a little tricky. So negative 14, the absolute value of that is 14. Then you've got a negative sign on the outside, so it becomes negative 14 again. Hopefully negative 17 plus 2, got that as negative 15. The absolute value of that is 15. Negative 1 minus 8, just type that right in your calculator. If you're not sure about your integer rules, you get negative 9. The absolute value of negative 9 is 9 with a negative 9 on the outside, or negative 1 on the outside. That becomes negative 9 again. And then you have to figure out for the last one, the absolute value of negative 3 is 3. The absolute value of 9 is 9, and then add those together to get 12. Hopefully you got the answers correct. If not, and you're still stuck, make sure that you come over and ask a question of your teacher. This brings us to the end of this video. So if you like this video, go ahead and throw us a thumbs up. If you love this video, go ahead and throw us a sub, and we will see you in the next one.